Bless you, whoever that was.
All right, we're now live on YouTube and all ready to go.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being present tonight at the October 9th public safety meeting for the Township of Maplewood. My name is Jermaine Kripe. I'm a member of your Township Committee and the chair of the Public Safety Committee. We have a lot of things to cover today. As I mentioned before we started on YouTube, that we have probably a very large public comment section. We believe there's going to be a lot of folks that have things to say and things to share. Looking forward to hearing your comments. And when that time comes, we will alert you. But just to give you a breakdown of what today's meeting is going to look like, we'll start off with our Office of Emergency Management update by our administrator, Mr. Wary, followed by our Fire Department Operations report by Mr. DeLuca, followed by our Chief of Police report and the narrative by our Police Chief, Al Sally. And then we'll move into some discussion items. We're going to be covering some traffic safety, ticketing and traffic enforcement, bike safety, an update on some possibility changes within our engineering public works, in particular bike lanes, and what type of safety program we could possibly get coming back from the police department. Questions about our unhoused neighbors as we roll into our colder season, and then an update on the car theft situation. The next item will be our public comment section, which every member of the community will be allowed to speak for 3 minutes. You'll share your name, your address, and speak for 3 minutes. If we need to break into executive session, we will break into an executive session, but as it stands right now, I haven't heard anything that we would need to break for. And then we would adjourn to meet our next meeting, which will be on Wednesday, November 13th, same time via Zoom. So let's get things, yes.
Sorry, could I just, given the fact that there's, people who want to comment on that, could we move public comment to the beginning just for tonight?
Do we want to move it to the very beginning or after we've done the first
I think we move it
reports?
to the beginning, and then when we go to, the regular business, people can choose to stay if they want to, but it's just a suggestion.
No, I'm absolutely fine with that. Were the other members of the committee okay with that?
Yeah, Dean's given thumbs up. And
okay, Chief, are you okay with that? All right, looks good. So yes, Mr. Ware, we are going to open up the public comment, and we'll start with the folks who happen to be present in the, well, technically in the room right now via Zoom.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
If any members of the public joining us on Zoom would like to speak in the public portion, please raise your hand now. We'll move you over one at a time by promoting you to panelists, where you'll have an opportunity to address the subcommittee. And when you're finished, we'll move you back over to the attendee role. For those being moved over to panelists, you'll have to accept the invitation to be promoted to panelists. I will be moving over Erin Sherer to panelist. Welcome to the public portion. You may unmute yourself and address the committee.
Hi, good evening. My name is Erin Sherer. I am an almost 12-year resident of Maplewood. I live on at 49 Oberlin Street, and I'm a parent of a Maplewood middle school student. I'm reaching out today to speak about pedestrian safety, particularly in light of the accident that impacted 2 Maplewood middle students on Monday morning. As a parent, as someone who has a child who loves to walk to and from school and actually often walks up by that intersection coming home with friends, where this accident took place, I really urge the Township of Maplewood to immediately address the challenge with traffic on Prospect. During peak hours, the issue is not speeding. As someone who regularly goes down Prospect during peak times, the problem is drivers who are impatient. They make cuts around. They make very quick turns, for example, from Prospect to Oakview to get down to the station. I've seen cars whip it really quick and have almost hit middle schoolers and high schoolers that are trying to get to school. I heard about this morning's engineering meeting and that changes are coming to Prospect closer to 2026, but we need an answer. We need changes this week. And something that I would like to see, we have a 64-member police force. I would like to see police officers at the intersection of Prospect and Oakview and Prospect and Elmwood directing traffic in the morning, similar to how traffic is directed outside of MMS. There's just way too many things happening at once, and crossing guards, technically by law, are not permitted to direct traffic. We need someone there, a sworn officer, to be able to direct traffic, both to get our children and commuters to and from home and work, but also to remind drivers that they're coming through, that this is an active thoroughfare for bikers, walkers, and drivers. And I think that police presence, seeing that car and having the officer with their command directing traffic will at least help this situation until other changes can happen. Additionally, Prospect is the only street, it's the busiest street in Maplewood in the morning and in the evening. There are none of those pedestrian lights where you press the button and it blinks. It would be great to add some of the flags that we see in South Orange on Scotland Road near Ohab Temple. It would also be really good to have some cones that are in the middle of the street. I live off Prospect in Harvard, and before we have those stop signs, we actually had like a little cone there or something that says pedestrians crossing here. We have to take this very seriously. We are lucky that a child wasn't killed. Just today, as I was taking my child to sports practice, she was still talking about what happened and how this incident could have been a lot worse had the child's backpack not been on her back. We can't take risk in our hands like that. And personally, as a taxpayer here, I would cut every other extra program so we can have more public safety for all of our walkers and bike riders and scooter riders in town. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ms. Scherzer. You're muted,
Now
Mr. Ware.
promoting Jacob Lambert to panelist. Mr. Lambert, welcome to public portion. You may unmute yourself and address the committee.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So this is Kirsten Angel Lambert, my wife. Our daughter was one of the students that was hit on Monday. And I don't think I can say it much more eloquently than the previous panelist just said it. But I just want to say that when the police officer that I was talking to on Monday morning was kind of just talking about what's going on at that intersection and what had been tried, she had, my wife has
You can see it.
she had said that these little signs that had been in the middle of the road, well, we'd had those, but they got destroyed. So, people were hitting them. So we just, we don't have them anymore. And I find it incredibly discouraging that the town's response to the signs that were there for children's and adult safety, but mainly children's safety, the signs that were there were destroyed by reckless drivers. And the town's response was to do nothing. There is no crossing guard there. And obviously, it's a fucking miracle that our daughter wasn't killed on Monday. I'm sorry to use that kind of language, but it's been a week. And I grew up here. Prospect Street has always been busy, but it's never been like this. And something has to be done immediately. This can't go on like this. There was a police car there on Tuesday morning, but no cop actually directing traffic as far as I know. And we need a more urgent response to this, because this is not the first time that kids have been hit. And if we don't do something, it's definitely not going to be the last time.
Yeah. I drive every morning on Prospect 2 to get to work. And there have been times where there's bikers on the road in front of me, and cars have honked at me and tried to go around me because I was driving slowly so the biker can go. People are just not, and there's no one ticketing. Like, if people start getting ticketed for driving unsafely, then they'll start taking it seriously to drive safely. If there's a cop there ticketing often, I think that could prohibit poor driving and speeding and People never cross. Like my mom has been walking up the hill to come up to visit, and she's scared to cross the street. She's that at that intersection specifically, it's impossible. There needs to either be a light or something, a stop sign, or these signs put back, or someone there. Like something has to happen. It's really scary that she's going to go to school every day now. We're going to have to drive her because we don't actually feel like she can walk right now. That's it.
Thank
Sorry for
you.
the salty language.
No, 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 no. You're passionate. I call that passionate. Don't even stress. And again, I'm so sorry that you are navigating this right now with your daughter, because I can imagine what she's going through thought-wise
Thank you.
herself.
Thank you.
Now promoting Meredith Brem to panelist. Welcome to public portion, Ms. Brem. You can unmute yourself and address the committee.
Hi, I'm Meredith Brem. I live at 3 North Crescent in Maplewood, and I have a 7th grader at MMS who actually knew the girls who were unfortunately hit this week. And we live near the intersection at Baker and Valley. And just last week, my daughter was nearly hit by a car, and there is a crossing guard at that intersection. And it didn't even matter. A car was coming through the intersection so quickly because there's so much construction there right now. And they're just rushing and almost hit the crossing guard too. So I don't even feel like crossing guards matter. Like they're putting their lives at risk. So maybe a police officer there would help. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is because crossing guards aren't even keeping our kids safe. But she's so scared to walk to school now. Like, do you know where I'm talking about? All the construction at the intersection?
Yeah, and I know the crossing guard there. She does both directions on Valley.
Yeah, but it's so hard for kids to walk around that corner. Like she kind of has to walk through the park, but then she has to cross in the street. There's no good answer. And I don't know why they chose literally the start of school to start all of this construction. It's really horrible. There's no sidewalk in some of the areas along Baker. There's no sidewalk on Valley. It's really hard for kids to walk right there. And it's such a thoroughfare. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Brem.
Now promoting Jason Tebb to panelist. Welcome, Mr. Tebb. You may unmute yourself and address the committee.
Okay, thank you very much. And yeah, that's Tebby, but that's okay. It's in to be or not to be. So
sorry about that.
It's okay. I don't have a lot to add that hasn't already been said. My daughters are friends with one of the children who was struck. They do go to Psalms and at MMS though. But I walk around the town a lot. I should just make this more of a general comment that this issue is not isolated. My children have another friend who was struck by a car 2 years ago in South Orange walking to Clinton Elementary. They know someone else who was struck by a car around here. This is obviously like a huge issue. And again, not just an issue on Prospect where it's very urgent. And I agree with what everyone has said so far. But I live near Boyden. I live at 37 Brookwood Drive. We will walk in the summertime to the pool. I can't count the number of times I've walked with my children and almost gotten clipped by cars. The other day, walking on Parker at an intersection, a car just blew through the crosswalk and almost struck me. It just happens all the time. Yeah, I'm a really tall, easy to see person. I'm not a child. So I think that it's obviously, I think, urgently necessary at Prospect to do something, but this is a general issue. And again, it's not just in Maplewood. Fatalities of pedestrians is going up around the country for a variety of reasons, reckless driving, the size of vehicles. I think we have to look at this holistically is what I would say. And think about it in general, what can we do around town to prevent this kind of stuff from happening? So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. DePee.
Now promoting Michelle Terry to panelist. Welcome to public portion, Ms. Terry. You may unmute yourself and address the committee.
Right. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having us this evening. So I live at 563 Prospect Street. That is right at the intersection of Prospect and Elmwood. So my office looks right out to the intersection, and the number of accidents that happen here on a regular basis. We've had cars that have actually driven out of control and into our front yard on multiple occasions. It's quite clear that this is considered a thoroughfare through town, and many drivers are are really just seeing it as how fast can they get through. We've had multiple cases of my children crossing the street or my elderly father crossing the street, where a car will stop at the crosswalk and then another car will go around on the shoulder or even on the left, not realizing that they have stopped for someone who's crossing the street. So I love the ideas that were presented already with having active police officers there directing traffic. It does feel like these are multiple traffic violations that are happening. So I think that the idea of ticketing drivers, that there is some penalty and dissuading that idea that this is just, how you can get through Maplewood as quickly as possible. So appreciate your thoughts or your attention to this.
Thank you, Ms. Terry.
Thank you.
Promoting Meredith McCracken to panelist. Welcome to public portion, Ms. McCracken. You may unmute yourself and address the committee.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Meredith McCracken. I live at 15 Norfolk Avenue. My daughter is a 7th grader at MMS and was part of the walking group that was hit on Monday. They were crossing Prospect at Oakland, as we know now. She and a friend had just made it to the other side of the street, but unfortunately their 2 friends who were right behind them were not so lucky. My daughter and her friend turned around only because they heard one of the girls screaming uncontrollably and crumpled in the street with her belongings everywhere. Clearly a traumatizing experience for everyone. My daughter made it through the rest of the school day and seemed to hold it together, and then melted down Monday night, crying uncontrollably like I've never seen her, and started wondering out loud what would have happened if she had been 20 seconds earlier and been in the middle of the street like her 2 friends who were hit. No person, especially a child, should be stuck with this kind of trauma. So we all know how busy Prospect is. Let's please make it safer for our kids who are walking to school every day. I'm requesting a crossing guard or a police officer to man the intersection of Oakland and Prospect, or Elmwood and Prospect, during the school mornings and afternoons. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCracken.
Now promoting Isabelle to panelist.
Hi there. Okay. I couldn't figure out if I was allowed in, but I think I'm good. Thank you for actually starting this meeting with this discussion. It's normally a meeting I would probably not have attended, but I was actually the person who called 911 for Kate on Monday morning. I saw the accident happen.
and I'm still traumatized as a mother over it. I saw the little girl fly back into the street. She was almost to the sidewalk. So I'm convinced that it was a distracted driver who just did not even realize that there was kids crossing the street. They were already right in the middle of the intersection. So my son grew up with this girl in elementary school, and he rides his bike to school every morning to MMS. He's in 7th grade as well. And I remember I walked him to school every day in elementary school. And I remember in 3rd grade or 4th grade, when he was allowed to walk to school and bike to school on his own, it was a huge milestone. And I do not remember it being dangerous or me feeling like it was dangerous for him to get himself to school alone and feeling that sense of independence and confidence to do that. That's what's beautiful about our town, is it was a walkable town, and it's just not anymore. And I tell him every morning, because I see what the traffic on Prospect, and I see exactly what everyone else has described here, the cars who are just do not care. They go around other cars. How is it that if there is a car that is actually intending to stop for pedestrians to cross this crosswalk, yet there's another car going around them? How is it that that is even safe? Like, I just feel like we need more protection for every pedestrian. If we're going to actually have crosswalks with a sign that says the law is to stop for the pedestrians in this crosswalk, we need somebody to enforce it, because and I really think it needs to be law enforcement, because it is not happening. And I just feel really strongly that every major intersection where we see pedestrians, and there's a lot on Prospect, so this is going to take a lot, but I just don't think that it's safe, and we should not have our roads say that this is a crosswalk for pedestrians where they have the right of way when they don't even have a chance. So I don't know what I need to do, but I never forget that day and what I saw. And all I could think of is, this could have been my child. And now he bikes to school every morning, and he loves to. I could take him, and I'm sure he would love the ride, but he likes the independence of getting to school on his own, on his bike and with his friends. And that's what's so beautiful about our town. There's not a lot of, towns in this country that still do that. And I just really think that, and so what I've told him is he needs to now go on a route where there is a crossing guard. But I feel like we need more of those crossing guards or police crossing guards along Prospect and in those crosswalks if we really want to continue to make these intersections where the pedestrians have the right of way, because they really don't have a chance to have the right of way. So thank you. Thank you for allowing us to have this forum at the beginning of this meeting. Like I said, it's not normally a meeting I would have attended, but I think it's important for this group, for all of you and these leaders here to hear this. And I really hope that after Monday that we really take action and do something about the intersections on Prospect for these kids, and even for our commuters who are trying to get to the train station in the morning.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'm sorry that you had to even experience that. And thank you for calling it in and making sure those children were taken care of.
Over iPhone 255 to panelist. Welcome to public portion. You may unmute yourself and address the committee.
Sorry. Hi, sorry. I'm Dana Luciano. Sorry, I haven't put my like my name on my phone. I'm also very, very tired after a long drive home, and I missed the first part of the meeting, so I apologize. I'm going to repeat things that people have said because I'm upset about the same things. I may be raising things that are questions that have already been answered, but I was just going to call into this meeting tonight and not try to talk. I just wanted to listen, but my drive home takes me past Prospect and Elmwood, and I saw that the traffic speed monitor had been put out there again, right? I'm going to guess that it was partly a response to Monday's horrible accident, right? And I had a very mixed reaction because I saw that there last year, or that it was there for a while last year. I assume because of many complaints about the traffic, about the speeding traffic, about the traffic backing up on Elmwood also, right? So it's both a danger and a traffic problem. And I don't know what happened and I don't know what was done, but I can tell you that as a person who walks their dog past there every day, people slow down for those. They're not really accurate judges of speed. And I was also very upset because I thought, okay, so there's a sense that there's a problem here, but if something had been done more quickly, those kids would not have been hit, right? We are aware that there is a problem as a community and we're not doing something, right? We're not doing something right away, right? I understand this is being perhaps addressed as sort of an infrastructural problem, which is important. But I think at this point, when kids are getting run over, it's like a public health emergency and something needs to be done right away. I agree with people who are saying, at minimum, a permanent crossing guard, and for now, perhaps police directing traffic. But I really think that the lack of interruption in that thoroughfare is probably the problem, and a stop sign or a red light would be the longer term solution. I do know that this is not in our hands entirely. I guess it's the county that decides, but I really hope that you guys are going to take immediate and sustained action, because I do think this is becoming not a nuisance, not a problem, but an emergency. Thank you. And thank you for, again, entertaining this at this meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Luciano.
If any other members of the public would like to address the committee, please raise your hand now. Moving Malia Herman to panelist. Welcome to the public portion of the sermon. You may address the committee.
Okay. There we go. Hi, I'm Malia Herman. I live in Maplewood on South Crescent, which is between Valley and Prospect. So my teenager uses Prospect a lot. She either walks to Columbia High School on Valley or Prospect. And I just want to make 2 points. I've heard some people say that we should encourage kids to cross at either Parker or at Crescent. But I just wanted to point out that a lot of kids walk in walking groups, and so they're coming from different neighborhoods. And that's why you see kids crossing at points in between those 2 spots. So I too would encourage the town to install a crossing guard at Oakview and Elmwood. I think that's long overdue. I also want to point out that kids cross Prospect at all hours, not just going to and from school. They also use it to get to friends' houses on the weekends, after school, to walk to the football game at Underhill. So I think that, we also need to be looking at how we can keep kids safe on Prospect and other parts of town at all times. I had asked my daughter what it's like to cross Prospect because she does it a lot. She's got friends on Burnett, Oakland. She said that you just have to stand there and you have to wait for a car to let you cross. That's just wrong. I think we can do better. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Herman.
If any other members of the public would like to address the committee, please raise your hand now. I see no other hands, Ms. Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Wary. Again, thank you all for coming to the meeting and speaking up in regards to the safety of our children and our residents in general. I know that there is a lot of frustration, a lot of pain out there right now, and we are working as hard as we possibly can. But there is absolutely room for improvement. There absolutely is. So thank you for bringing your concerns. Thank you for bringing your suggestions. I've been writing things down since you all started, and I hope, and I know the rest of the committee could probably concur with this too, that we will find a combination of solutions that could possibly help resolve things. And a lot of it comes down to just behavioral change as well within our own driving community. But how we create that is going to be a process. But we are on it, and I hope that people don't take these responses or our conversation that we're going to have later on tonight or just pat answers or we're politicking. We're very serious about our public safety, and we're very serious about pedestrian safety in particular, since we're working very hard to make Maplewood truly the walkable community we advertise ourselves to be. And being walkable means safely walkable, not just we have sidewalks, EAS. Thank you again for your time and your concerns, and for your emails. And hopefully over the next few months, we will work harder towards some solutions that'll help make this area a lot less scary for our students to get in from. They've got enough things to worry about to not add getting to school to that list of things.
So,
Mr. Jaffes.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, Deputy Mayor Craig. I wonder if we could have a little bit of a discussion right here, right now with the chief as it relates to the one thing that we heard a lot about in terms of an immediate solution, and that is having officers assist crossing guards during those peak hours here on Prospect, in light of the fact that Prospect is very busy, the volume of cars and more pedestrians, including more students than ever before. A lot of people are reaching out and saying, hey, I've lived here for 20 years. I've never seen anything like this. Well, yeah, we're more densely populated, and we have more kids walking to school, which is a great thing for a community like ours. But we want to make sure, obviously, that they're safe. So Chief, what's your reaction and or recommendation to this as a starting point, as something we can begin implementing immediately? You're muted, sir.
Yeah, first want to say sorry for the kids that got hit and the parents. So before this happened, we started a department order. We call it Traffic Enforcement and Pedestrian Safety Campaign. We started 2 weeks ago, where we are targeting these areas. So we've been targeting Prospect, Elmwood, four-way stop signs, all the traffic concerns we have been hearing. This detail consists of multi-officers on these details. So it's not just one officer, it's 3, 4 officers, supervisors alike. We do it all of our shifts, peak hours. And since we've been doing this detail, traffic enforcement, tick summonses, and also warning citations and education has increased. We will continue to do that. And this is before this unfortunate incident took place. So as far as Prospect Street is concerned, we do have crossing guards on Prospect and Spring, Prospect Harvard, Prospect Crescents, and Prospect and Tuscan. The way it was, and we put this on our website, is that that if you're crossing the street, walk to one of the crossing guards and cross there. But I do understand there's a long stretch from Crescents to Parker if you're walking down the street. So if you're walking, let's say from Parker Avenue, I don't know if we have kids walking that far, but to middle school, but if they are, the idea is to walk to the Crescents and then cross, because that's where the guard is. But there's that long section where there's a whole bunch of intersections where kids might cross. I think the thing is just to decide if we do put a crossing guard or officer there, what intersection we put them at. I know the accident was on Oakland, but I don't know if Elmwood would serve us better because Elmwood seems to be a little busier. I don't have the data or statistics right now to make that determination. But that is a long distance if if you don't get to the crescents. I gotta look into officer. We did hire 2 extra crossing guards as supplements. So that could be if we decide that's a corner. Officers are hard too because we have very limited officers during that time because they're already on corners. I think there's 7 corners that they're dedicated to already, along with the crossing guards. If a crossing guard calls out sick, the officer has to fill that. But I gotta look at, and it depends on the day and how many officers we have and all that stuff. And that's why usually enforcement is a little less during school time because officers are tied up on school corners already, as our schedule already shows. But we do have extra guards that we can use, and also I am going to look into if we do have extra officers available to cover that corner.
Thanks, Chief. I appreciate that. And I didn't mean to get you to answer on the spot, but I like your approach that you're willing to consider it and look into it further. I think if nothing else, as you heard from some of the parents and their children, folks are traumatized right now. But school carries on and people need to still get to work. And so I think having cops assisting crossing guards in this area for the time being, in order to help things become a little bit safer and more controlled and make everyone feel safer and more controlled in light of what happened, would go a really long way. So we'll leave it up to you to figure out the logistics of that as the chief. We know you can do it. We have faith in you, and we appreciate you looking into it. Thank you.
Yeah. I also want to add, just to let you know how we do during the day when we have crossing guards and officers on the road. We do have an officer that checks every corner in the morning just to make sure the guard is there. And if the guard is not there, and then is reporting, then we put an officer there. So it's always a check. We have an officer that drives around and makes sure that each corner is covered. There's times where, a guard might be out and won't even notify us. So we just gotta make sure that those corners are covered that we already have. And then, again, we do have a surplus of guards, 2 extra ones. They're being trained right now once they complete training. But before that, yeah, we'll look into our manpower and everything else and have some extra attention on Prospect Street.
Chief, besides the enforcement and additional officers on the other side of it, are there things that members of our community, besides walking up to the crossing guard, which is a great suggestion? It's a practice, so it's something folks will have to get in the habit of doing. But are there other things that we could do? I know when I'm driving now, mostly, not doing as much walking previously. But I'm wondering if there are things that members of the community who notice aggressive drivers can do to help law enforcement in this whole process. I hate the fact that the default is give them all tickets, but if that is the only way to deter bad behavior, then is there something on the civilian side we can do to assist?
Yeah, the main thing is when we're looking for a description of a vehicle is the license plate. If we get the license plate, we can find where the person, the address and identify and everything else. So, I mean, as far as, reporting aggressive driving, even if you can, if you have time to take a picture or get a make and model of that person, of that vehicle. A lot of these cars that are driving through that area drive around that time and that area at the same time every day because they're trying to go to work. That's their route. So, and people sometimes walk at the same time. So you constantly see this vehicle. You let us know, we can, we'll follow up if we're not there. But we plan on being there a lot more now. So with our new initiative. And Prospect is definitely as you know, obviously is on our radar, but also Parker and Valley Street and Spring and even up on Wyoming when we're having these burglaries. So you know, where we're hitting different sections and we're hitting them with 3 or 4 officers at a time at a clip.
Mayor, it looked like you had your hand up for a second. Did you have a question?
No, I was just putting my glass down.
Okay,
But I think
my apologies.
Committee Member Engel does.
Ms. Engel.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to, I'm sorry I missed public comment in the beginning, and maybe this was said, but I just wanted to mention again, we talked about this last year, how with the intentional integration plan, school placements have changed. So the kids that are in Parker, like Richmond, like even towards South Orange and Oakland, that whole area is now going to MMS, and they used to go to SOMS. And so I think some of these issues are new because it's different. So there are kids walking from like Richmond and Parker or farther to MMS. And I think we as a town could have done a better job communicating that walking to the Crescents is what we should do. But it also just feels like really far from like a user perspective, even if the distance is around the same. When you're walking from, you know, Elmwood to Prospect, you're going to turn down like Oakland's because there's also a light at Valley. And so I just think that user behavior has changed. And also the school start times, as we've talked about, we know how that had a lot of unintentional effects. It's also making people get later to work because they have to drop their kids off and they have to get to work and they're like rushing. And so I think all of the intentional integration plan, while it's great, had a big effect that I just think we need to make sure that we're paying attention to and keeping talking to the schools and maybe just changing things around a little bit. And I mean, I personally believe that we should be looking at Oakland and Prospect or Elmwood and Prospect for a crossing guard because of that issue.
Yeah, and you can see, by the way, where the crossing guards are. It's only on that side. So you have Spring, Harvard, Tuscan, Crescents, and then it stops. And then all the way to Parker, there's no crossing guard because just like you said, the change of where these kids are going to school.
But even still, by the high school and down in that area, I oftentimes will see people, particularly driving into the parking areas to get around someone who wants to make a left.
We actually have a cop on Parker and Academy. That's one of our fixed officers there.
All right, thank you. Did anyone else have any questions for Chief Sally? All right. We're going to continue with the rest of the meeting, but we will still be discussing aspects that we brought up during this section because of public comment in other parts of the meeting. So if you're willing to stick around, we'd love to have you. Yeah. So Mr. Wary, you are up with our Office of Emergency Management report.
Thank you, Ms. Cripe. Just only report that I went to training down in Atlantic City for coordination between Incident Command and Emergency Operations Center. So it was a really good all-day training put on by the New Jersey State Police. So it's always, you know, me and other members of PD and of FD who are members of the OEM are always taking these trainings, and that was a real good one that I was able to attend recently. That is it on emergency management. If you'd like, I can share some information on fire department as well.
That would be helpful. I don't know how much bandwidth Mr. DeLuca has in the stands.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and it is the top of the ninth, and the Phillies are up. So
the big news is October is Fire Prevention Month. So SEFD had fire open houses at all the schools, or excuse me, at all their stations on October 6th. They are touring the schools from October 7th through October 11th. We'll also have demos at the train station and at the farmers market where you can use a simulated fire extinguisher and they show you how to use it on a simulated fire, which is more or less a TV screen, and show you how to best use that to put out a fire. And then we are excited about the first fire prevention chili cook-off, which will be held October 20th at the Sloan Street Firehouse. So those are the events for Fire Prevention Month. And we thank SEFD for all their effort in putting those on.
Well, thank you. And we thank you for not issuing Mr. DeLuca's pun from the township committee meeting, because that still burns. Ha, I said it. And I wanted to actually ask, as a part of Fire Prevention Month, does the SAFD have any materials or anything that they could actually add or we could put as a part of the weekly update? In particular, folks with their carbon monoxide alarms, they're changing the batteries of their fire alarm detectors or smoke detectors, and general items like that. Just simple, quick little poppy things that we could add to supplement the information we share with the community.
Yeah, I can make sure if it's not already included that we add some more of that information. Yeah.
That'd be great. Mr. Jeffers, I don't know if you were groaning or if you were making a gesture like you wanted to say something, but all right. Thank you for that. Chief Sally, we're on to your report as far as metrics. Do you want me to share screen, or are you okay sharing your own screen? And you are muted, sir.
I want to share the screen. Every time we put it up, there's something on there that I don't think should be up there. So.
Then you take point then.
I'll just read it off. As far as August, so our the major crime we've been having all year has been burglaries, the break-in, take the car burglary. We were we were higher than last year during the summer. We did start our burglary detail, and it has cooled off significantly. So right now we're almost even as in from last year. It was 24 last year, it's 25 this year. Just an update on that burglary detail. I gave an update last meeting, but some other things has happened since then. We had a burglary on Ridgewood Terrace. Detectives utilized an unconventional vehicle, conducted a burglary detail, and were able to apprehend 3 juveniles attempting to steal a vehicle, which was parked in the driveway of this Ridgewood Terrace address. So that was an arrest. Oakland Terrace just recently happened. A burglary occurred on Oakland Terrace during the overnight hours, where the actors were attempting to take the homeowner's vehicle by entering the home. Through investigation, detectives were able to identify 2 juveniles from video. Juveniles were attempting to take the car. The previous night, we were able to get a fingerprint from the door, and it's currently being analyzed by the New Jersey State Police, but we do know who the kids are. So we were waiting for the prosecutor's office for charges for those kids. This is not, there was a commercial burglary on Springfield Avenue where the actor went in and actually stole the ATM machine on Springfield Avenue. Through investigation, along with Springfield, Hillside, and other agencies, we identified and we charged a 32-year-old male for that burglary. So we're able to make arrests in that. Park Avenue, which one is this? Park Avenue, armed robbery, attempted robbery took place on Park Avenue. 3 juveniles attempted to take an adult female cell phone. Patrols were able to place 1 of the juveniles in custody, and we're seeking further charges through the prosecutor's office. So those are 4 major incidents that took place where we have arrests. Either we arrested or we have arrest charges pending. So so that a lot of this came off of that burglary detail. Again, burglaries have cooled off for us a little bit. Thefts are up 24%. These are package thefts that we're receiving, but we have been making arrests in those too. Auto thefts each year have been, like straight auto thefts, not the burglary style ones on the street, have been trending down for the last few years. So we had 38 at this time last year. We're at 30 this year. And that's all I have.
Chief, are you able to give any information at all on working with other municipalities or the state, or is that premature?
Yeah, so for example, that ATM robbery, ATM burglary, we work with Springfield PD, Hillside PD, other agencies. Also, there was we have identified some juveniles and we located their address. And with the state police, we with the state police's help, we made these arrests at their home. Also, there was also we had a detective who was undetected and located one of the vehicles that was involved in one of our burglaries. And that vehicle ended up on the NJ Turnpike. State police assisted us with that. We were able to catch those. They were ended up being adults, so we made an arrest for that burglary and stolen car that they ended up on the New Jersey Turnpike. We made that arrest. So we're out there, we're active, and this is not even mentioning where our officers are out there, and we detect something suspicious and they take off. They'll take off out of town. So we deterred a lot of stuff from this as well, not just the arrest.
That's great, and we've helped the state police too. So everybody's, I guess the point I'm making is that everybody's working together. It's not just us, it's not just our town.
That's
These
correct.
are incidents happening
But I would say
all
a lot
over.
of these other agencies got the identification of these people from us, from our detectives doing the work.
That's great. Please pass on our gratitude to the detectives, because I know they're working weird hours trying
Yes.
to nab these people. So appreciate it.
All right, thank you. As far as the package theft, and folks are being recommended to use the Ring cameras and the forward footage to you. Are you able to get responses back from folks in regarding those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So it does
'cause
seem like most everyone's got cameras now.
Yeah, the cameras are great, because even like the Oakland Terrace burglary, we're able to identify the kids through the camera because we had them before. So, but even with the package thefts, the cameras are great, and because we identify a lot of these juveniles. So if we see they're on a camera, we're easily identifying.
All right, thank you, Chief. Does anyone else have any questions for Chief Sally? All right, thank you. Oh, that sounds like Vic.
Vic. Yeah. Chief, I provided some statistics today on the moving violations. Now those go up till August, and I know, we talked about it last meeting and you talked about it tonight.
Am I the only one that lost Mr. DeLuca's audio?
Yeah. But
Okay.
No, I lost it, but did he share that spreadsheet he did with you, Chief, as well?
I did see it. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So can you give
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
now
I
we
hear you
can
now.
hear you. Wait, congratulations, Vic.
Thank you. Thank you. I did nothing.
No, I know,
I did
but
nothing.
you're a fan. That's
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just had a question. What is your reaction? Are we going to see some uptick in these numbers?
Right. So yes, those numbers are extremely low. Some of them are a lot of times when an officer stops somebody for speeding, they might not necessarily issue a speeding ticket, but they are still low. We did start, I don't know if you heard, we started a new traffic initiative a couple of weeks ago, where we're doing multi-officer details and radar details for speeding, crosswalks, illegal left turns in the center. We were in the center last couple of days ago. Prospect Street, all the major streets, and speeding is also included. Just ear check on the radio. I heard a couple issued today and yesterday. So officers are in this detail and they're doing it, and these details are with a sergeant or lieutenant on these details. So it's multi-officer, and well supervised. So we should see an uptick.
And Chief, you talked about getting some of the bosses out on the street. Have you been doing that? I know you just said that, you know,
Yeah.
because we heard before, people are clamoring for more enforcement, and we've been talking about this, and you know, we've got to see some numbers, and I'm glad to say that we're going to be seeing them.
Correct. Yeah. So there's always a sergeant on there, and if it's a certain situation where a lieutenant can come out, and if that situation is present, then the lieutenant comes out on these details as well. Also, our captain.
Well, that is good to hear, because I know when we first moved here, and I'm dating myself, back in 2003, that was something that was talked about a lot in and around Maplewood as it being the place that you do not want to get caught speeding. And that stopped being the case fairly, I would say probably within the 5-10 years later. So I know I speak for myself exclusively, but I've had conversations with other folks. If you're speeding in a community that's supposed to be walkable and you're doing it in areas where there's a lot of pedestrians, you deserve the ticket. Plain and simple. You deserve the ticket. Especially if you're being aggressive in areas where pedestrians are allowed to be, like crosswalks. So I would personally like to make a specific ask. Go hog. I mean, go out there and just start ticketing. If you see it, hit people. Even if it is, you just pull them aside. Sometimes something as simple as just pulling them over. And you knew those. I'm preaching to the master, you know. Sometimes pulling someone over is enough of a deterrent for them not to do it again for a while. Maybe not ever,
right.
But start pulling folks over with a heavier hand. I don't think the people in this community would be upset about that. Not at this juncture.
I always have my stats in front of me before the meeting, but then when I get on the camera, I can't find them. But the checking the stats from the last 2 weeks in this detail, I think it was half and half. It was like half were actual summonses and half were warnings. So it used to be more warnings than summonses. So it seems the summonses seems to be picking up.
No, maybe the summonses need to go higher.
Yeah.
Because if the carrot's not working, it's time to start using the stick, you know? Folks
Yeah,
have to.
Deputy Mayor, I entirely agree with you, and I don't think I'm not going to speak for Ms. Engel or Mr. Daffis, but I have a feeling they would. I think, Chief, what you're hearing is there's at least a majority of the Township Committee who would like more tickets, not warnings, tickets, and more visibility of people being pulled over, because it's definitely a deterrent, you know, of having people where they're going to get pulled over.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why we do multi-officer details. So it's 2-3 officers on a detail, and just the it actually is easier for us. So when we pull a car over, you have to have backup, right?
Yeah,
the backup's already there because they're on the detail. So it makes it a little faster with us.
All right.
So I guess there's eyes on PD now to see that these citations get picked up.
Right.
Yes.
And Chief, don't make liars out of any of us, please. I beg you, because we'll get
we're not lying.
No,
we
no,
want
no.
it. We can't.
emails from people saying, I didn't see them today. I didn't see them at all. It's been all week. I haven't seen anybody. So
yeah, I know, but I hear them out there on the detail. And it's like, I don't know, like if they're on Parker and the person is on Spring, it doesn't see like it's I want the visibility too, and I want them to be seen. So that's why we're doing it. So hopefully we'll be more visible.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to dig into a lot of these details a little bit in our discussion section, but are there any other questions for Chief Sally as far as his report before we move on? Great. All right, so our first item up for discussion, we've kind of already started it, but I don't think it's a problem to go back. We have heard via email and phone calls in some cases, text for sure. And of course, social media, that there are a lot of fears right now for traffic safety in this community, and particularly the pedestrian routes that our children use, going to and from the middle school and the high school, but our elementary schools are not exempted either. And so the general question is, what can be done? We understand their crossing guard posts, and I believe that that was actually published and shared through the school district as well as posted on the township website. So folks know where the crossing guards are posted, but obviously something more needs to be done. So what can we do? We've mentioned the signage, we've mentioned additional officers present. We've mentioned having possibly even some materials going to the schools, inform people, hey, these are where the crossing guards are. This is where you need to start crossing the street. But are there additional things that we can do, possibly from other departments? One thing that came to mind, I remember the conversation we were having about Parker further back on the other side of Boyden, was the conversation, the fact that that is an emergency route, so we couldn't do things like speed humps to slow people down. So we put the crosswalk signs that I believe it was Mr. Loomis had posted, showing a picture of, that had gotten ran over. We had multiple residents show us those lovely signs in the road one week, and the next week them smashed to pieces. So it's not enough. Is there additional stuff that we can do that maybe we don't know about, to help get people to slow down?
So here I'm Chairwoman Cripe, thank you. If Committeeman DeLuca is available, he could possibly summarize from an engineering perspective some of the immediate and longer term things that we talked about during public works and earlier this morning, to do Prospect Street specifically. Can you make some of that?
I'm here. Can you hear
Can
me?
you talk about, yes, can you hear us?
Yeah, okay.
Can you talk about Prospect in this?
So on just on Parker, we've come up with a plan that a four-way stop, putting in some crossing signs, putting bike lanes there, prohibiting parking, and we're going to spend the rest of this year talking to the community and getting buy-in, the Parker community getting buy-in on that, and then implementing it hopefully next year. On Prospect, we looked at some curbing and pedestrian signs, particularly at Elmwood in Prospect and Oakland in Prospect. And also we talked about signs, high-intensity beacon crossing signs along Prospect. We are planning to pave that most likely in 2026, and we will spend next year doing a plan as to how we might incorporate additional traffic safety measures, possibly some accommodation for bicycle lanes, but that still is a topic to be discussed. In the short term, we are going to be putting some of the signs up in the street again. We're going to be looking at temporary, let's say, temporary buffering using either cones or these quick curbs that we've used over at Burnett and Tuscan Road. So we've looked at those, and we've looked at a couple other streets, but those are the two primary things that we discussed today.
Now, I know that Parker is that thoroughfare that's an emergency route, so we really can't do a whole lot to it without the county say so. But I'm wondering if there's more things that we could do to create, I don't want to say slowage or stoppage, but we can't put speed humps down, but can we put those speed strips, those things that sound like, grrr. I hate driving over, it makes my hair stand up.
Yeah, those are really hard in a residential area because they're noisy for when you live there. We did, I don't know if Mr. DeLuca mentioned the bike lane part. he cut out or I cut out.
He did
But
mention the bike lane plan that was going to be discussed, that was
Yeah.
being implemented.
So it's a combination of things. So
Okay.
yeah.
I just, again, I worry because on Prospect, which some of the folks had said, and some of us have even experienced, when you're stopped waiting for someone to cross in the crosswalk, people will sometimes use the parking to the right as their quick get around the cars in front of me, so I don't have to wait for them. Which could put somebody in danger, because if you don't see that person in the crosswalk, and it's the bike lane is the same thing. It's just another bit, not to take away the desire for bike lanes. Please, please, please give us bike lanes. We need them. But I don't know if that is going to be enough, if we could do something. To cite an example, in New York City, they have areas in town where you can't make a left turn at certain points during the day. You just can't. It helps traffic keep flowing. People aren't happy about it, but they know, hey, if you go to this street at between 7 and 9, you can't make a left. So if you want to make a left, you need to go elsewhere, find an alternate route. Has something like that, or is something like that possible for the intersection of, say, Parker and Valley, where we end up having a very large logjam of people trying to get through to get to the train station, as well as cross town, as well as just get their kids to school?
We
It
can
would-
talk about that at engineering, see if it's warranted and stuff like that, the normal study that you do.
Yeah, we would have to have the county weigh in there because the county runs Valley. We have Parker, so it would be, we would have to analyze how that would impact, not allowing left turns. We'd have to see how it would stack up and things like that.
Yeah, because if folks were forced to go through or to the right, I don't know how much it would stack. You're forced to keep going. You can't make the left. So sitting there is not going to change it.
Yeah, but whenever you do anything, you have to look at it holistically, because if they can't turn left there, then they're going to turn left
someplace else
on
exactly.
Prospect or on, Maplewood Avenue, whatever.
Which I think is
Dunno.
actually some of the Elmwood issue. I know I'm just thinking from, excuse me, sorry, I had to sneeze. I know that some of the folks that are avoiding Parker now are coming through Elmwood. As a way of avoiding that whole area, which is good in the sense that if they don't need to go to the high school or be in front of the high school in that school zone, great, don't go. But if you're being aggressive and creating that problem in another pedestrian area, school zone or whatever, then how do we move them from there to maybe someplace else, or shift them or encourage them to leave early? I don't know. I'm at a loss, and I don't want to see another kid hit. That's just where I'm sitting at right now. So
I feel like we had a really robust. Sorry, Ms. Crape. I feel like we had a really robust conversation at engineering this morning, and even like short-term solutions. We talked about using some of those temporary, I don't know what any language is, but maybe Vic could say that we can put maybe in the middle, like those signs, like stop sign things for pedestrian crossing. So I think this morning we had a really long conversation talking about short-term solutions and long-term solutions. So I don't know if the minutes of that meeting are going to go around, but perhaps we can review it and then continue the conversation in engineering.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think maybe
Mr. Ware usually distributes them, so I'll get them. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So ticketing and traffic enforcement. Again, we kind of already talked about this in regards to Prospect and some of the school routes and the pedestrian routes to the train station. But we still have some ongoing behavior problems in certain areas, hotspots in town. Rutgers near the industrial area that's there. Last week, I don't know if you were aware of it, but I know Mayor Adams and I got informed and witnessed this. The businesses just decided one of them to move a truck in the middle of the road and just block all directions of traffic. Why? Because they wanted to or had to for whatever event or thing that they had going on. And I know that happens in communities constantly, but there's a way of doing it and a way of not doing it. And just randomly deciding, I'm just going to move all my vehicles out into the street and block traffic, and everyone else just has to suck it up, versus contacting the police department and letting them know I need police presence to help me move this vehicle, da-da-dee-da-dee, following the rules, all is good. Are the businesses unaware of this as an option? Are the businesses in contact with the police department for this type of activity? It's starting to get a little ridiculous. That one last week was straight ridiculous.
No, we're not contacted. We don't know until somebody calls us.
Yeah, that's part of the issue. They need to call dispatch and not, not call dispatch. They can't,
Right.
if the police don't know, they can't go over there in time. But aside from that, I know Mr. Wary spoke to some, so go ahead, Mr. Wary.
Yeah, people should call the non-emergency number when it happens, because texting or calling someone other than the police department just delays the PD getting out there, and it a lot of times they'll get out there and the person who was blocking traffic is gone. So I'd encourage any member of the public who sees traffic being blocked to call the police department. You can call their non-emergency number if you'd like. As for the specific incident last week, I spoke with the owner of the company that we believe to have blocked traffic, and seemed understanding, and will work to speak with his drivers so that that doesn't happen going forward. And we'll continue to monitor the area. I'm not under the impression that that's going to solve all of the issues, but I think specific to that one that you raised, it'll certainly help.
Okay, thank you. Also, the business deliveries down in the village in particular, we're still seeing and hearing, I'm witnessing when I'm down in the village, that there are certain trucks and certain deliveries that they just stop in the road, including the DoorDash and the Lyft, the Uber Eats folks that just pull up in front of the business, even though there is no parking and it is not a parking spot, and throw on their hazards and run inside and get their delivery. But sometimes it's not a quick run inside, so they're blocking traffic the whole time they're sitting there waiting, which is causing people to drive on the other side of the street into sometimes where people are walking to their cars, which are parked legally. I haven't really seen any enforcement of that either, to push away for folks to not do that. And I've spoken to some of the folks while they're doing it, and you can't do that, but I'm a civilian. Who am I? Some lady that just came out of the nail salon. Why are they gonna talk to me? So I would also recommend, if there's some additional patrol, maybe in the evening hours around meal times in the village and near some of the businesses that do food, to discourage.
Do you have any plans to
that
do
behavior?
Yeah, part of that detail, yeah, we have been down there. So they've been addressing the left turns and all that parking situation. So we did do a couple of those multi-officer details down in the center. We'll continue to do that, as well as the other complaint streets we've been doing.
Okay. Because we don't want to discourage people from ordering and eating from our restaurants and visiting, but they've got to respect the flow of traffic and safety of the folks that are down there, because it's dark in the village at certain times of night, and you don't want to be stepping off the curb thinking you're safe and get nailed by a car because they can't see you. During a big bike safety conversation I was having with a parent who's a part of the South Orange's walk, bike, run crew, we were discussing the fact that there used to be a bike safety program run by the police department. Many of us remember it. It was over at Maple Crest Park in the parking lot, I believe. And I think it was also brought up in Health and Community Services. Mr. Ware, you can correct me on that if I was wrong. Where we were teaching folks in our efforts to get people to bike more and to register their bikes, they would have a program done by the police department that would allow them to license their bikes, utilize the expertise of the police department and how to safely get around town on a bicycle, as well as possibly get a helmet. Somebody said they gave away helmets. I don't remember that part, but I do remember reflector badge, wristbands and armbands for kids that were riding. Is there any way of rebuilding that bringing that back.
Bring back some of the pre-COVID stuff, like the selling, the stolen bike sales and stuff like that.
Yeah, we used to do, we used to hand out the bike helmets. We did the bike rodeo.
Right, that's it.
Yeah,
Bike
we had like
rodeo.
the obstacle course and everything. We had we partnered. I can't remember the name of the organization, but they set everything out for us, and then they would have the kids or go through the obstacle course and learning how to ride their bike and maneuver, and free helmets and slap bands and everything else. Yes, and we
Can you try to? Can you get that?
definitely.
We did talk about this on Monday in Health and Community Services, because as we talk about bike lanes, we're talking about bike safety. So I think Miss Melissa Mink reach out to you to talk about syncing efforts to start up back the bike safety things with the PD, and she's working on some programming as well, and so we can have like a coordinated effort just for like bike safety in general. And Miss Davenport was also interested in maybe having the PD at the health fair with some of those bike safety items and education items and stuff like that. So I think Pat, they were going to reach out, right, to help to PD to help figure this out. And we're thinking about the spring.
Yeah, I remember at the time we had so many helmets. So we had,
they were white. You could decorate them.
Yeah, we had every size and everything. So we've
noticed that fewer and fewer people are riding around town with helmets on, whether on their bikes and just in general. So maybe an initiative or a push to get folks to start wearing them again, bring back that fashion statement, so that folks will be safe out there. Because we do want folks to bike and walk more.
Yep, and bike registration too. Yeah, do that.
And the bike registration, particularly for the bikes that are being taken or being misplaced. We already discussed the bike lanes. You mentioned it. Mr. DeLuca and Ms. Engel had mentioned it as far as engineering. I remember a conversation being held in regards to bike rack availability, but this might have been a school district thing versus a township thing. Folks were concerned about the fact that when they ride their bikes in parts of town, if they wanted to leave them outside, they had to like chain them to a tree because there weren't any bike racks anywhere nearby. Do we have an inventory, or can we get an inventory of our bike rack situation? And if we need to include a few more or purchase a few more, could that be on for
Mr.
next
Wary,
year's budget season?
Well, or Mr. Wary, can you maybe have Mr. Kittner have somebody give us a count of at least municipal ones, because we did hear the same thing this morning regarding lack of bike racks at the train station. I mean, I know the Conservancy installed with DPW several along Donnell across from the train station, but they're apparently full all the time. So maybe it's something engineering and public works can take a look at, so we can see where they're needed and do sort of a inventory.
This morning's feedback was helpful because it was specific in that we see the bike racks at the train station are full. And so that's something where we can address that. I'd expect, in the near term, if you know of areas like that specifically, because if I give you we can give you an inventory, that's no trouble, but that may not specifically show where the gaps are, where the need
No,
is.
but I mean, if we don't even know where all of them are, and none of us can go around and see the utilization. So I think maybe either PD, when driving around, checking out the SCNG lighting, for example, can take a look at utilization.
I'll have engineering do it.
Just to get kind of a inventory. Did I go?
Sure.
Did I freeze?
Sure.
I think I froze.
No, you're still gone.
Oh, because you all froze. I thought maybe.
All right. All right. Well, the final item I have listed because we've gotten the car theft update, and Chief Sally went through that earlier, was the unhoused neighbor concerned. I had one of the local congregations reach out and ask what the township's plans or things in position for unhoused neighbors. They were hoping they would be able to get some kind of materials that they could distribute to the folks that come by the pantry, folks that go by the community fridge as well, regarding the colder weather months and what they can do to find someplace warm, a warming station. I remember we had the lists last year, so I'm not worried about it being created. It's just wondering if we could get them out earlier rather than later, because already they're having folks reach out and ask what the options are for folks in town if they need blankets and pillows and whatever.
I think our department has already started assembling some of that information, and they have flyers, so we can coordinate with them, our social workers and such.
Mhm.
And I
Right.
imagine our outreach team is also, because they're doing face-to-face contact and helping connect our house list to services and other needs. So I imagine that they're also doing that outreach and have their own.
Yeah, beyond our local warming centers, there are other regional warming centers that our providers, CSP and J, can connect folks to. And that is already, I think, in a flyer. We just need to talk to our health director and our health officer, Candace Davenport, and her team about this.
Okay. Because yeah, the general feedback I got from the Interfaith Council is like if they could get that information earlier rather than before the snow hits or before it starts to get like regularly 40 degrees at night, that would help them.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. So great. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to lift up in discussion?
Yeah, I have one item.
Mr. Luke.
Hear me? Yeah, thank you. Okay. Received some feedback from our CERT team members that they don't feel that they're being utilized or have any communication from police department. And Mr. Weary, CERT is under OEM, so I would suggest that you could speak to the two sergeants who are monitoring the CERT operation and see if you can revitalize that.
Yeah, we can schedule a meeting. Absolutely.
I forget, is assisting crossing guards part of their duties, or could be part of their duties?
For CERT?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
No.
No.
Can it be? Is there a reason why it can't be?
I think it's a training.
Yeah, one, I mean, it's training, but also that's not the purpose of CERT. You know, they are an emergency response team and generally are operating in shorter windows and more difficult environments. I think if we discuss ideas for increasing pedestrian safety, we'll want something long-term, and CERT doesn't fit that. And even if it's going to be short-term, I think we have better applications of either police officers or crossing guards for that.
Was there anything else? I know we had a public comment already, but if there are any folks that are still in the room, maybe who came late, would we be able to open public comment up for those folks? It does seem like a fewer number of people.
Sure. Yeah. If any members of the public are interested in speaking, please raise your hand now. I see Max Coey, who will be promoted to panelist. Welcome to public portion, Max. You may unmute yourself and address the committee.
Hello, thank you. I just wanted to address a couple of points throughout the meeting regarding bike safety, specifically regarding Parker, regarding Prospect. Some of the key points I noticed of issues were what I call the Jersey pole around the left-hand turns. A lot of that, especially on Prospect, is facilitated by how wide the parking lanes that are underutilized. And I just really wanted to advocate for the implementation of bike lanes, specifically along Prospect. I know it's more difficult along Parker, specifically around Prospect. As a bit of introduction, I'm a CHS student. I'm a senior, every morning I ride my bike to school along Prospect down from Oakview to Parker. I'm on Prospect all the time, all the day. I notice there's parking lanes on both sides that are wildly underutilized. There is so much more parking capacity that is needed, such that I ride along the parking through the parking lane on the east side of the road on the uphill side. It functions as a bike lane for me, which is wonderful. Although so much of the issue of having that as not a protected bike lane, as there is clearly the room to do, is that on the offhand chance that a car still can park there, or for example, in between Elmwood and Parker, again on that north side, there was a traffic camera, which is wonderful. I love that there were traffic cameras to encourage drivers to slow down, but parked right in that parking lane. And again, whenever there's a car, the only viable option for me as a bicyclist is to look behind me and merge into the car traffic, which feels a very unsafe option. Same thing, the only way those left turn, the pull around someone waiting for a pedestrian or waiting to make a left is enabled, is through those wide parking lanes, where while I know it's a longer term solution, but implementing protected bike lanes, ideally parking protected bike lanes, but any sort of curb or physical infrastructure will prevent those dirty lefts, will keep the bike lane clear, because as much as I love the discussion about working with the PD for more bike safety advocacy, as much as we can advocate for safety, no amount of helmets or registration is going to make me feel safer moving on Parker without either protected space or simply slowing traffic down. Far and away, the best way to improve bike and pedestrian safety is to slow traffic down. It's specifically on Parker as well. With I know this is again a far off concept, but there's been concerns about we can't add speed humps and such due to it being a emergency corridor. There are ways still to work around that. If mixed use paths and bike lanes are made wide enough, those can be used for emergency vehicles. There are other solutions in other municipalities where speed humps can have cuts in them, since the front profile of a fire truck is wider than that of a sedan or an SUV. There can be cuts such that a fire truck can drive through without going over the hump, but any other car going over is small enough that one wheel must go over the hump, again slowing cars down. There are so many more solutions that can be looked into, and I just really wanted to advocate for bike lanes as number one, a way to simply slow traffic down, which will make everyone a lot safer on the street, and to provide more physical infrastructure for cyclists. While some of the physical infrastructure is far off, things like the flex posts used on the corner of Burnett and Springfield and Tuscan can be installed if there was the support for it. I understand there needs to be engineering reviews and such, but can be installed within the week. Things like just setting down traffic cones to see how the community reacts would go such a long way to, number one, improving safety, and number two, gauging just how much interest there is. Regarding bike racks, every day at Columbia, the bike racks out front, I understand that's outside of town jurisdiction, but the bike racks out front are completely full, like they are at the train station. People want to ride their bikes around town. It's just we don't have the infrastructure set up to make people feel safe. Only wearing a helmet can be hugely helpful, but can only do so much compared to keeping cyclists separate from the fast-moving traffic. So I just speak to emphasize how critical it is that our township invests in separated, protected bike facilities, like multi-use paths that can be used by runners, used by people with strollers, any and all people outside of a car. It will make things safer. It will slow down traffic. It will reduce incidents such as a horrible incident this past Monday, because there's no reason why any child should be getting hurt on their way to school. It is completely intolerable that we design our streets here in Maplewood to be such fast, wide thoroughfares. Apologies for being so long-winded, but thank you for your time.
Thank you, Max.
Moving over Chris to panelist.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, this is Chris Russell. I live on Ridgewood Terrace. Sorry, I joined a little late, and you might hear my 2-month daughter cry. There she is. Hopefully not. I just want to say, really echo and appreciate this meeting. I was in the infrastructure meeting this morning as well. Super passionate about people-centric infrastructure, and then the town really taking it seriously to make this a walkable community. My comments are, I'm all for, I believe as Ms. Kripe said, ticket away, and everyone said ticket away for these failure to yields. I honestly am so for that, as well as can we do some sort of public awareness campaign around that? So a very famous national one for wearing seatbelts is click it or ticket. Is there something like that? Fail the yield, pay the shield. I don't know. Whatever, you guys can use ChatGPT to figure out something. But we can, make sure that the whole town is aware that this is a problem. We're all going to be looking for it, because if you just we're going to park cops at these intersections, people just find a ways around it, to know that this is a deterrence and that everybody cares. And then I just want to confirm with Chief Sally, you're okay with us sending video of, I do this all the time, walking with my son or daughter and have 5 cards fail to yield. I can videotape that. You're fine with me sending those that video to you guys. I'm all for that, but I just want to confirm that that is the case.
Yeah, send away. Yep, send it to us. Fine with that.
Wonderful.
Also, what I was talking about with our detail, we're actually gonna put out a press release regarding that tomorrow. And also we are also part of Click It or Ticket. So we get grant money for those different federal campaigns like that. So we join in that all the time. And so when it comes out, we do that. And also Click It or Ticket is another one for cell phone and different things like that.
Are we part of fail to yield, pay the shield? I love that.
I was loving that. I was like, it sounds like the thing from the Thunderdome. What's the deal? Face the wheel.
Oh, like Chris made that up himself. I like it though.
Yeah, that was Chris GPT there, but
yeah, trademark that.
Feel free
Trademark
to steal it, take it, make a sign. I would love it, but I'm all for it. I'll tell my neighborhood WhatsApp group that this is like a thing we should be looking out for.
We should have a slogan contest. That could promote it. I mean, seriously, it sounds stupid, but maybe we need it.
Promote engagement. I think it's a great idea in education. Yeah.
Okay. Dean, you do that.
I see no other hands.
That sounds like Deb's area. That's communication.
Deb, you do that. We'll get the new PR person or the public information officer.
That's communication.
What I was going to say, Pat and I have talked about that too, about education for pedestrian and traffic and stuff. So our new public information officer can come up with a catchy slogan. But I wanted to just say, Chief Sally, I wanted to thank you and your officers for how safe we felt at the Rosh Hashanah event in the park last Wednesday night. So thank you so much for all the work that you do to keep our community safe. Appreciate you all.
Thank you. And also they did a great job with the SZA appearance on Valley Street.
Yeah, the pizza.
Great job with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Byron doing that, playing her songs over the bullhorn. That was genius. Awesome. I moved to adjourn, Chairwoman.
I was actually about to ask that. I second that. We will be meeting again on November the 13th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. If anyone has any questions, reach out. You have our emails.
Some of us 7 hours. Good night.
Yeah.
All right.
I know. Dean and I spend every morning together on this second week of the month.